What's up, you guys? It's Jason here from RPM Side by Side, and we're going to be talking about a cool product that we have that's really new for the X3s, Pro XPs, and Turbo Rs, and that's our clutch fans. So what this is a fan that's going to exhaust air out of the clutch housing from about idle to 3,000 RPMs. And after 3,000 RPMs, the CFM of the factory clutch is going to take over. This is a non-restrictive. I know there's a lot of guys out there who are like, oh, it's restrictive, it's restrictive. Our fan can spin just as many CFMs freely as the clutch will allow. So we've been running these. We ran this in Baja for 1,800 miles on our car. You're never going to get higher clutch temperatures than what we see in Baja on a high horsepower car. So that's how we tested them, and that's how we know that they work. So when these are really popular for rock climbing guys, guys who are moving slow in trail, stuff like that, and especially the rock climbing guys, they see a ton of clutch heat in low gear, but they don't actually get the RPMs to fully move the clutch heat out as it was designed for. So what this does is when you're in park or moving slow, it's pulling hot air out, and it's pulling cold air in behind it. So that's what it does, and these are super easy to install on all three models. And today we're going to be installing it on our Can-Am X3. So let's get to it. You're going to be using a 10 mil deep to install it, a Phillips to uninstall the factory hoses, and just simply some wire snips to cut the zip ties for the wiring. I like to use soap and water and a microfiber towel anytime I'm messing with silicone. It makes installation so much easier when the silicone has a little bit of lubricant on it. All right, we're simply going to, with our Phillips stubby, remove this worm gear clamp and remove this worm gear clamp, remove this tube from the clutch. Once that one's loose, we're going to move to the top. What I like to do from here is kind of pre-install the silicone onto the fan and then pre-install a couple of the clamps and leave them really loose. So what I like to do is have the clamps on the back side so you don't see the T-bolt once it's installed. But the short piece of silicone is going to go on top. So we're just going to push it down all the way until it's seated. And then we're going to move on to here. And the short piece of the elbow is going to go up, so it'll go on like so. That's it, kind of pre-installed, and then you can adjust it how it looks once you have it installed. Something I want to note is that the clamps have a size on them, and like I said, I like the clamps, the T-bolt, to be on the back side, so they'll look something like this. You really can't see the T-bolt. It's a 102 clamp, 102 clamp, 102 clamp. This larger clamp down here is the 106. So you'll have 3 of the same clamps, and then the larger clamp goes here at the bottom. Something that's very important is that when you're installing these clamps or pre-installing them, that you only need about a 1/16 inch gap from the edge of the clamp to the bottom of the silicone. You don't have a lot of clamping surface on the fan because it's as small as possible, so it's important that you don't have the clamp too low, otherwise it will just squeeze itself off. Anytime guys have issues, that's usually their issue. All right, at this point, the fan kit is ready to be installed into the clutch, and I like to use some soap and water. Just kind of swab the insides of these, swab the bottom of this one, and it's time to go. All right, guys, to wire it, we're going to go from here. We're going to come up on this side, come up over here. There's some brake light wiring up in here in the fender, and that's what we're going to grab onto, and we're going to trace it back to the brake light. So once we're right here, that's what we need to get to. We're going to get to this brake light pin. We're going to plug this end into it, and that end into this. Simple as that. Gonna pull this pin back to unclip it. Simple as that, guys. This goes in. This goes in place of the brake light. And from here, we're gonna zip tie our slack back up to the existing wiring and up to the existing wiring, just like this. We'll catch a zip tie right in here. All right, guys, we've got all of our zip ties clipped. It's plugged in. It's hooked up. It's time to fire it up. At this point, the fan will turn on anytime the running lights are on. So as soon as you key on, it's running. So those guys at the rocks, or they're just got done doing heavy mud, by the way, this thing's completely water sealed, waterproof, it's ready to roll. You can be in park, the fan running, engine off, and it'll be pumping out the hot air. So It works really well at keeping the clutches cool. All right, guys, up here is the clutch vent. Come take a look at this. This is where it's pumping the air back through. You can hear it working. You can actually feel it moving air just sitting here after all that. Not much air. It's crazy how much it'll move. Like I said, it'll sit here and run as long as the tail lights are on. So key on power, it's ready to roll. As you can see, it's a super easy, super clean install for the clutch fans. You can pick these up on RPM SxS.com or from any of our dealers and vendors online.